when you start to add hardware and strategies like having, lights on desks and I need a device I can tap on and tap off and sensors here, that starts to really, really substantially increase costs. So
Hi, welcome to a Pronestor webinar. Thank you for joining in. Today I will be talking with our Australian partner Zeplin about the current work situation in Australia when it comes to the hybrid workplace and returning to the office. If you just clicked in and don't know anything about Pronestor, you can go to our webpage and read more. Pronestor works within work tech, delivering solutions, software solutions to the office space for meeting room management and desk booking solutions. So for today's topic, as mentioned, we are going to be digging into what it looks like in the Australian market at the moment. And for that, I have our Australian partner and expert, Justin, with me on the line. Hey, Justin, thank you for checking in today.
Hey, Sebastian, thanks for having me along.
So how are you doing today, Justin? Is the sun shining in Australia? That's what we always think here in Denmark anyways.
Yeah, it's not too bad down here in our part of the world, Sebastian. We're blessed to live in a pretty nice climate down here. So we have our ups and downs with fires and floods and all those things that go with Australia, but otherwise it's a pretty good place to be.
So Justin, maybe you could start off just introducing yourself and Zeplin and how we worked together for the last many years.
Yeah, great, thank you. So my company Zeplin, we've been in operation for around about 9 years. We actually started partnering with Pronestor from the get-go, so very much aligned with what Pronestor do. Zeplin is focused on solutions for workplace efficiency. That includes predominantly software. There is some hardware aspects involved in that, and we've been sort of ramping up our interest and activity quite a lot in the IoT and sensor space in the last few years as well. So we've got customers really from a diverse range of segments in the market, small, medium enterprise, right up to global brands. So I'd like to think we've got our finger on the pulse fairly well with the types of customers that we work with and the different problems they come to us with, and helps us get a good understanding of what's going on in the market down here as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that sounds just about right. It's really interesting what you're saying about that. You've lately been ramping up in the sensor space. We can really see here during Corona that has been become the hot topic. A lot of customers asking about how to use sensors to measures and so on. Sorry, that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're going to be talking about returning to the office in Australia. So if you could just give us like a quick update on what it is look like in Australia at the moment. Like, are you guys opening up? What is the current status? Are people coming back into work?
Yeah, look, we're fairly lucky down here. We've certainly had our fair share of lockdowns in some cities. They've been, quite prolonged and very difficult for everybody, families, business, you name it. But by and large, there really aren't too many restrictions here anymore. We don't wear masks day in, day out. Really, there aren't any impediments for people returning to the office anymore. But as we know, that landscape has changed. So regardless of the fact that there isn't any physical reason why people can't go to the office, obviously part of our discussion today is talking about, what's going to happen from here on in. So, definitely things are opening up again. I guess consumer sentiment's growing. People are gradually moving back to the cities, certainly up and down the east coast here, with the largest populous areas being, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. We're seeing probably the government sector pushing their employees to get back to work, a little bit more than maybe some of the other sectors. But it's definitely happening. Absolutely, things are starting to return to whatever the new normal is going to be.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're in a little bit of the same situation as we are up here in the Nordics, that restrictions has been lifted. There's no reasons to wear masks anymore. There's no reasons why you shouldn't go back into the office. But of course, during this time, people have learned to enjoy being at home and working from home, and some are more prone to wanting to stay at home than going into the office. So is that kind of the situation that I'm hearing you say that you guys are in?
Yeah, totally. And I think you've got a lot of larger enterprises, have the means to sort of tackle these strategies a little bit more aggressively than some of the smaller businesses. But, I think both large and smaller end of the markets are really trying to still work out what this looks like. The term hybrid's been bandied around a lot. It's probably the most common term in our space at the moment. But I think it means something different for just about everybody. We talk to companies day in, day out of different sizes, and they all come to us with, a similar set of problems, but, they're also trying to tackle specific nuances that relate to their employees and their office and what hybrid really means for them.
Yeah. So it sounds like, also like in Australia, like in the rest of the world, like you mentioned, I completely agree. Hybrid workplace has been, the buzzword for a long time, as long as a lot of other words that we've become familiar with here during Corona. Just so the people listening in here can maybe see themselves in what we're talking about, could you mention some of the typical problems people are coming to you with? What problems are they trying to get solved?
Yeah, I think the themes are pretty consistent. In this case, really, the main challenges are probably collaboration. So, organisations want to keep their teams together. They want to keep their people productive. So, how do they actually help their teams recognise where their colleagues are? When can they work with them? How do they connect with them? I think the other common things are, the space in the office. The office design is going to go through, a complete overhaul, really, in many cases, because teams are not only necessarily not going to the office, but I think they're probably working in different ways as well. So I think it's been fairly well published that, a lot of office spaces will be downsized, and that's probably true to a certain degree, but I think how those offices are designed and set up to accommodate people working is going to be certainly one of the challenges. And to that end, I think really optimizing property. So for facility managers and people looking after real estate portfolios, it's how do they actually get data on what people are doing in this hybrid world, and how they actually use that to make informed decisions across their real estate portfolio, which ultimately is a huge cost factor, but they need to get it right to actually get rubber to the road for collaboration and employees to use the space effectively.
So if we break it down into two or three main sections of what I'm hearing you saying is that you have, on one hand, you have people who are worried about how does my employees, our office teams, how do they become most productive? How do they optimize on collaboration and working together and being able to find each other for of course solving their day-to-day tasks, but also like in the broad span to innovate and so on. So one problem is how do we make sure that we have the right spaces for them and the right areas for them to work together, and making sure that maybe they are somehow connected either hybridly from home, from the office, from somewhere else. And then there's the other part where it's the building owners thinking, how do we restructure our building to accommodate this new situation? Can we downsize? Can we save some money? Can we maybe lease out some of this space to others? And what kind of solutions, technologies do we need in place to accommodate it? Is that about correct?
Yeah, totally. And I think, this is going to be a long process. I mean, companies just have to make a start. It's about not trying to boil the ocean and do all things in a rush. It's not going to be perfect from the get-go, and there's got to be a lot of learnings. And I think, essential to that is collecting data. Make a start, try and put provisions in place so that you are collecting information on who's coming to the office, when, how they're using the office. And, that's going to be the foundation for a longer term transition to whatever hybrid will look like.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that in order to know what your future office should look like, you shouldn't start buying a solution that provides everything from the get-go. You should maybe start looking into how you want your office to be used, collect data on how it's used in the current situations before you determine where you're going. Is that what you're suggesting? Or
yeah, look, I think with customers realizing that they need to start doing something. We have a bit of a mixed bag. We have customers who come to us in full solution mode. We need a desk booking solution. We need sensors on every desk because we need to know exactly who's doing what. We need sensors for this. It's one thing investing in software. It's not always the cheapest thing depending on the size of the organization. But when you start to add hardware and strategies like having lights on desks, and I need a device I can tap on and tap off, and sensors here, that starts to really, really substantially increase cost. So when we actually start having some productive conversations with these customers on what the actual problem is they're trying to solve, we usually find out that there are other ways to solve the problem. And obviously, as I said, data is key. Investing in a desk booking solution as a starting point is a basic way. There are other ways they can start to collect data, even if it's as simple as building access system. Collecting day-to-day data on who's scanning in and out. Just simple counts for who's in the office.
I know this is maybe asking you to look in a little bit into the future, and you're not a futurist, so I won't hang you up on their answer. But just when we talked about earlier, like coming back to the office, the new normal. What does your little crystal ball says that what do you think the new normal could be?
Look, I think it's just a given that hybrid is the new normal, and I think it just depends on how that scale starts to shift with home and work, and how well companies adapt.
Yeah, because I mean, I totally agree with you here, and we're kind of seeing the same. What you're mentioning, that the key to success for the companies in the future is not which hybrid strategy they necessarily choose, but that they choose a hybrid scenario, because they are going to have people who wants to work from home more than just once a month or once every other week like they used to do before. They found this new freedom where they are more flexible. It's easier to maybe get everything to well connected in terms of if you have kids or whatever, you need to go and deliver them to school, kindergartens, pick them up, get everything done in time, and still be able to work a little bit in the evening. And for others, they don't maybe have the right setup at home. They need to go into the office, and that's where they thrive the best. That you have the possibility for everybody. I think that's the same that we see here. But it's interesting that you're bringing up how do you say this as a key to success, also in terms of keeping employees, because as I understand it, also in Australia, you have felt this great resignation that has been going on in the US for a while. I don't think it's have like that big an impact here in the Nordics yet. It might, but that's something it seems like it's also up and coming in where you are.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of talk about that, and I think it's definitely a thing. Good people are being headhunted quite aggressively. People have had to look inwardly quite a lot through COVID. It's been very hard for people, and I guess sort of focusing on their own mental health and well-being and work-life balance, and all of those things have sort of come to the fore through COVID. So, that means that we've got a market where employees are being fairly specific and demanding about what they get going forward. So if employers are not really delivering on those kinds of freedoms and benefits, then yeah, people aren't going to stay. So it is definitely a job seekers market down here for a good portion of the audience, and that's been well discussed, especially for the larger organisations. If employers are not supporting the new mindset and the new way of working that employees want and need, then they're going to be suffering from turnover, and we all know what that means. It costs a lot to have people turning over. That's definitely a thing down here.
Yeah, it's also a job seekers market up here in most areas. So I guess I see what you're saying, that companies, they can use their office space and their office in order to attract people, to attract talent, and of course using the hybrid workplace as a theme is something that they kind of need to do. It's not a option anymore. So what we see up here also is that with the younger generations is that some of the talent that is coming out into the market, they just have other expectations that maybe what my own generation or your generation might have had for the office space. So I don't know if that's something that is a theme in Australia also, expectations of Generation Z and so on.
A lot of those factors were already in play in workplace design before COVID. Workplace design had come a long way, certainly since when we started entering the market. But so I don't know that it's necessarily a dramatically different looking workplace. It's harnessing all of the aspects of workplace design that we already had, but I think creating a new mix to actually match how people are using the office and working together now. So I think that's the shift. I don't think it's just a fundamental flip the office on its head. It's just going to be remapping and restacking workplace to accommodate the right mix of spaces. All right,
yeah, that makes sense, and I definitely agree that workplace consultants is a business that was booming, before Corona. I have the idea that it's something that boomed even more here after or during Corona, that companies know that they need to make some changes. But if we look a little bit more into our field of work tech and software solutions or work tech in general, do you think that no matter what the strategy of the company of returning to work or the hybrid workplace, do you see any good long-term investments for them in what should they focus on, do you think?
Yeah, we actually see even still some hesitation. So whilst we know companies need to take a step forward and actually start adopting some element of hybrid work, we even see some companies hesitating, well, do I need a 12-month license for that platform right now? We don't even know what it's going to look like in 12 months' time. That's their hesitation. Yeah. That's not from everyone, but it's definitely part of the thinking. So, look, the simple things really for getting companies started is, obviously in a perfect world, there's some level of engagement with employees about what they want when they're coming back to the office. There's quite a few layers that can be discussed with what they want to see. Employees need to know they're being listened to. From a functional side, clearly, COVID sort of 101 in terms of, desks and social distancing and desk blocking and all of those kinds of things are still probably going to feature to a degree. There seems to be quite a little bit more of a relaxed approach to that down here these days. I think that's probably going to start to change as well. But really, it's about sort of managing, giving staff a chance to actually book a place to come back to the office when they want to be able to see who's going to be in the office and when and where. So
Yeah.
how they collaborate,
Yeah.
and collecting information on, who's actually been into the office. So it's just those few simple steps so that they can organise their teams, give them a chance to manage their facilities and resources, and actually start tracking what people are doing. It's just a simple first step. And look, that might logically be in the form of a desk booking solution to get started.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing you saying is that people are a little bit reluctant to invest in anything at the moment because they don't know what the future brings. So, maybe one of the key things here is that whatever they choose, importance is, flexibility, that it's surrounding about enabling your colleagues to perform their work and have the right resources in place for them to do it. So, where's my colleague, booking up spaces for my team so that I know that there is enough spaces for my team when we're in the office, and things like that. But with a how do you say, making sure that it's a flexible solution that they go into that can easily be adapted along the way.
Yeah, totally. It's just, don't, like I said before, not trying to boil the ocean. Make a start. It's going to be a learning curve. It's that old phrase, test and measure, test and measure. So it's just about making a start. It doesn't have to be perfect, but there's got to be some structure around those few basic steps to make a start. Yeah, that's certainly my view.
So if we're rounding up the discussion a little bit here and taking some of the headlines from today, what I'm hearing you say is that right now companies are looking into what kind of hybrid workplace do we want in Australia. Is that correct?
Agreed.
And they know that they need, it's not a do we need to adapt it, it's a we need to adapt this strategy and we need to find the right solutions to support us and our employees, especially when it comes to attracting and retaining talent at the office, because it will be within the expectations of the employees.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I do really think that's a huge factor, and it's been well discussed down here, but it makes complete sense. There's a completely different view on what work means to people now, and employers have to find the best way they possibly can to measure up to that, and even just remembering how they actuly approach employee wellness.
Yeah.
So it's not just buying systems and designing workplaces. It's it's putting those different programs in place so that they are actually investing in their people's happiness as best they can.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, but that sounds good. I think that it gave a really good picture on where you are at the moment in Australia, and if you were to give one or two pointers to the audience listening in here today, what are a couple of next steps that they can take if they're in the situation of saying, like we've discussed today, yeah, we know that we need to adapt the hybrid workplace. What should their next step be from here?
Yeah, I think just repeating what I said before, don't try and do everything at once. It's going to be very much an evolving process, and how things unravel in the next 6 months could be very different in another 12 months' time. So I think it's just a matter of putting some tools and processes in place, gathering some learnings from their people about what they need, and actually making a start. We know real estate is pretty much the second highest cost above and beyond human resources for any company. So if they're not taking learnings away from that, then they're missing a huge opportunity.
Yeah. All right, but that makes really good sense. And for anybody listening in here, thank you for staying to the end. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can find us at our webpage. Thank you. Bye-bye.